total approved appropriation level of a fund. On August 20th, 2018, the CRA Governing Board approved Resolution 11118, approving the 2018-2019 CRA budget. Resolution 111-18 is provided as Attachment 1. The mid-year budget adjustment provided as Exhibit 1 and of Resolution 114-19 identifies several accounts to be adjusted from the previous year. Exhibit 1 depicts the fiscal year 2018-2019 adopted budget and the fiscal 2018-19 budget adjustments and the fiscal year 2018-2019 amended budget reflecting all of the adjustments. Also with me this evening is Mr. Jerry Boop. If any of you have any technical questions that are beyond my capability to answer, Mr. Boop is here also as backup. All right. So the following revenues have increased and or decreased since the previous budget was adopted. The ad valorem current is $16,738. The Seminole County contribution is $16,010. The interest earnings are $6,000. The use of fund balance has been decreased by $52,029, and the total decrease in revenues is $13,281. The changes in expenditures, the stormwater pond realignment was $5,069. The Wood Street extension has been increased to an additional $97,886. The implementation of Oviedo on the Park has been reduced by $3,700, and the appropriated amounts eligible for capital projects has been reduced by $112,524. The primary change in the budget amendment is the Wood Street Extension project. The fiscal year 2018-2019 budget allocated $275,000 for the Wood Street Extension. The final bid costs that came in, the lowest bid was $338,986.75. City staff has reviewed all of the bids that were provided and has determined to move ahead with the lowest bid. However, that's going to require a change in the budget amount allocated for it. All right. So, strategic impact. The Wood Street Extension is identified as an eligible project in the Oviedo Community Redevelopment Agency's Community Redevelopment Plan. The city's Transportation Master Plan also recommends an eastern through connection linking State Road 434 to a northward extension of Center Lake Lane. Due to the grading issues over there right now, High Street cannot be linked to adjacent streets, and Lindsay Lane can also not be linked to adjacent streets due to grade changes and wetlands impacts. So the connection to Windy Pine Way through the Wood Street extension is the only practicable extension available. So that being said, it is the recommendation of staff that the Oviedo CRA Governing Board adopt Resolution 114-19, amending the budget of fiscal year 2018-2019 to reflect the new totals, and also adopt, well, that's it for that item. Resolution 111-18.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All righty. What is the pleasure of the CRA Board on 114-19?
Motion to adopt Resolution 114-19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motioner has the floor. Mr. Axel?
I'm just pleased to see some concrete work about to start. I think staff did a great job on moving this forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Henkin?
Yep, same thing. I'm glad that project's going to go through. That's going to be great. Thanks, John, for all the hard work on that. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Councilman Britton?
I'm good, thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Looks good.
Mr. Slattery?
I have a question. Is it common for cities to amend their budget halfway through the year? Because most private businesses aren't allowed to do so.
With regards to CRAs, yes, sir. There's usually a mid-year budget adjustment to accommodate any unanticipated changes that may have occurred in revenues or expenditures.
I don't like the practice, but I'm okay.
Would you like a little bit more explanation from Mr. Boop? Only take a moment.
Sure.
Am I not behind?
Yes, thank you. It is a very common practice in government to amend the budget along the way. Generally speaking, you'll have a mid-year budget adjustment to adjust for any unknown circumstances throughout the year. And then again, at the end of the year, you will also have another budget adjustment to true up the revenues and expenditures for the entire year. This is a common practice in both the general government, the enterprise funds, and it is also a common practice in the CRAs.
I guess the reason I don't like it is because we are not now expected to perform to a budget. Now we know we can amend it anytime we want.
Essentially, the way this works for a government is that when you have unanticipated increases in revenue along the way or unanticipated expenditures, it allows you to adapt and deal with the demands of the community as they happen.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Booth? Thank you, Jerry. Councilman Chadnow, anything?
I'm good.
All righty. Well, it seems, as everyone has said, now we can get some concrete going down and get some projects going in the CRA. And I know we have another big project that's supposed to be coming back to us at our next CRA meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion to adopt Resolution 114-19, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, our next item is Resolution Number 115-19, and this is the intergovernmental interagency agreement with the City of Oviedo and the CRA, I believe. Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mayor Presampier. This is a request for the Oviedo CRA to approve an intergovernmental interagency agreement with the City of Oviedo regarding the Wood Street extension. What this interlocal interagency agreement does is it outlines very specifically the responsibilities of the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency, and also the responsibilities of the City of Oviedo, and how those two agencies work with each other and provide services to and for each other. At the April 4th, 2016 meeting, the Oviedo Community Redevelopment Agency adopted Resolution 101-16, approving an interlocal interagency agreement with the City of Oviedo, acknowledging the independence and interdependence of the two separate organizations and identifying shared activities, collaborative processes, and resources. It achieved the following. It acknowledged the independence and interdependence of the City Council and the CRA Governing Board. It recognized the potential for cooperative sharing of city resources. It recognized the potential sharing of city procurement services, master agreements, and contracts, and enabled the city's finance director to serve as the treasurer of the CRA, and acknowledged the city and the CRA will collaborate on projects in the future as part of the CRA's operation and implementation of the CRA plan. What this new resolution does is further clarifies the role of the city and the CRA with regards to the Wood Street Extension project explicitly. So it's kind of a suspenders and belt, basically, for being very transparent and outlining and assigning the responsibilities of the project.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? No?
It is the recommendation is that the Oviedo CRA Governing Board adopt the Resolution 115-19.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes,
What is
sir.
the pleasure of the CRA Board?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 115-19.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Councilman Henkin, you have the floor.
No, sir, it's all good.
Deputy Mayor?
Looks good.
Councilman Chadnow?
I'm good.
Mr. Axel?
It's fine.
Fine.
Mrs. Slattery?
I'm good.
Councilman Britton?
Good.
All righty. Seeing and hearing no questions on the item, I'll call the vote. The motion on the table is to adopt Resolution 115-19. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? No opposition. Motion passes. Mr. Jones, anything else for the good of the order before I do upcoming meeting schedule?
Yes, sir. At each of your places, you have found a handout with regards to Senate Bill and House Bill number 9 that just came through the local legislature, state legislature that just closed sessions, and it addresses the specific items that affect the operation of community redevelopment agencies throughout the state of Florida. And several items specifically impact the Oviedo CRA and the operation of the Oviedo CRA. And I'll go over these briefly and let you reflect on those items at your convenience. First, ethics training for CRA board members is required, and also for members of the council as well as just appointed members of the board. So everybody has to go through annually 4 hours of ethics training.
Mr. Jones, is that elected members are already required to do that? Do we have to do it twice now?
No, sir. If you're already doing it now, you're good. But for the appointed members of the board, now they have the pleasure of going through the ethics training as well. The purchasing process by the CRAs, community redevelopment agencies, shall procure all commodities and services under the same purchasing process and requirements that apply to the county or municipality that created that. This is an example where the Oviedo CRA is way ahead of the legislative intent. You guys already do that. In 2016, you adopted that process. The annual reporting requirements have been revised. So there's new requirements with regards to what needs to be in your annual report and your performance measurements. And then it allows for the extension of CRA terms beyond 2039. There is language in this legislation that says all CRAs effective October 1st, 2019 shall terminate on 2039. The Oviedo CRA was founded in 2010, and it has a 30-year lifespan right now. So it can go through 2040 if it decides to extend its lifespan to that full period. Right now it's going to end in 2039. You also have the option of extending the CRA for 40 years, so it could go to 2050 if you wanted to. Right now, the Oviedo CRA is going to sunset in 2039 unless you take steps to extend it to 2040 or to 2050. All right. The legislation also limits the extension of outstanding bonds maturities beyond 2039, so if you have debt that runs beyond 2039, you can continue to operate the CRA to address that debt that runs beyond 2039. There are updates addressing the requirements for declaring inactive CRAs. Unfortunately, that does not apply to the Oviedo CRA. The legislation also allows for the amount of funding by each taxing authority to a CRA trust fund to be lowered to 50%. So if the CRA, the Oviedo CRA, wished to lower the taxing participation from another taxing authority where that taxing authority didn't have the charter capability to set their own participation, you could lower the taxing participation rate from 95% to 50%. Right now, Seminole County, as a charter county, they have the authority to establish their own participation level, and they currently participate at 50%.
And we're at 95.
You're at 50% also.
Oh, I'm sorry, 50.
Yes, sir.
Both, right.
Yes, sir. Another requirement of the new legislation requires that all CRA expenditures be pursuant to the annual budget. So this addresses Mr. Slattery and Mr. Axel's concerns with regards to items. Funds can only be spent on items that are identified clearly in your budget. So if you have a new project that you want to spend more funds on and you need to adjust your budget, you need to make that reflected in your annual budget so that it's current. And so that's what we did tonight with the mid-year adjustment. Annual budget amendments shall be submitted to the county 10 days after their approval. So once we approve a final budget at the end of this year, we'll have to send it over to the county within 10 days. These requirements all take part or become active on October 1st of this year. So when we go through our new budget cycle is when we're going to have to abide by these new requirements. The legislation also revises a list of allowable expenditures that the CRA can spend their money on. It also allows the end of fiscal year carryover for projects beyond a 3-year limitation. It also revises audit requirements. Once again, this is an example of where the Oviedo CRA is ahead of the legislature. Right now, you have your CRA audited annually in your comprehensive annual financial report. They also added a requirement that the audit accompany the annual financial report. And that is the end of the changes. I've attached a copy of the actual House bill with line items referencing that are reflected in the memo, just for y'all's files and records.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes,
Any
sir.
questions for Mr. Jones right now? All righty, seeing and hearing none. John, anything else for us?
No, sir.
Mr. Cobb, anything else for the CRA Board?
No, sir.
Anything from the CRA Board?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
as most of you know, a Boys and Girls Club is working to open up a Boys and Girls Club at the property at 55 Avenue B, which has been vacant for a while and is within the CRA boundaries. I'm looking to see if the CRA would agree to specifically under the commercial neighborhood improvements, specifically the sewer hookup, which they're going to go off the decommission the septic tanks and hook up to the sewer. Would that be something that the CRA would be a project for the CRA?
Is there a budget for it yet, Chief?
Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. Mayor Sampier, members of the CRA Governing Board, the connection to the sanitary sewer system, taking houses off septic tanks and putting them on the sanitary sewer system, is an identified project within the CRA plan.
Any comments from the board on that?
It's just not identified in the budget currently, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
we- So we'd have to do another amendment to the budget to add it?
You could amend it, you could amend the budget again, or you could add it to next year's budget.
How
next
much
year's
is
annual work
it?
plan.
Do we have a amount?
The last, I think, Mr. Wyatt might be able to give us.
How much? About 3,000.
I don't think I would have any issue with that.
Well, I mean, that would be a project in the CRA that would stand out. Lots of people would see it. It would do great community good for 3,000. I think that's a good expenditure.
But Chief, they're not going to start the building until next year?
Hopefully, we're going to start renovating the building sometime this year,
This fiscal year?
this fiscal year.
Okay. So we may, I think it's a great project, but I think we got to do all the adjustments to everything
Yes,
to
sir.
make sure that we can include that in there.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Anything else from anyone else on that? All righty, hearing no further comments, our upcoming meeting schedule, July 15th, 5:30 PM, CRA Board meeting. August 19th, we have the CRA Governing Board meeting. That's our budget discussion. That's at 5:30 PM as well. Tentative, September 16th, CRA Governing Board meeting. And then a regular meeting. Both of these are 5:30 PM. We have October 21 and December 2nd. So, hearing and seeing none. Yes.
One more question. There
Yes.
was no minutes for the April 1st meeting in the package?
Not in this package, no, sir.
Okay,
They will
so-
be made available at the July 15th
Okay,
meeting.
perfect. That's it.
Anything else? We're adjourned.